Farming is the foundation of everything. Without it, there are no cities, no schools, no hospitals, no internet. Every city, every civilization, every food market in the world today, all of it traces back to the moment humans stopped hunting and started farming. One decision, 12,000 years ago, that changed the species forever. About 12,000 years ago, in a region we now call the Fertile Crescent, modern-day Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Israel, the birthplace of wheat, barley, and civilization, something shifted. Humans began planting seeds deliberately, tending crops, staying in one place. For the first time, home was not wherever you slept. It was a place you returned to, and it changed the world more than anything else in human history. But here's the question no one asks. Why did we bother? Farming is hard, brutal, backbreaking, endless work, dawn to dusk, every day, every season, no weekends, no days off. So why did our ancestors give up a life of hunting and gathering to do this? The answer is one of the most important stories in all of human history.
Before farming, humans were hunter-gatherers, and life was actually pretty good. Not the brutish, short, miserable existence we imagine. Genuinely pretty good. Hunter-gatherers worked fewer hours than farmers. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups show they work only 3 to 5 hours a day. The rest of the day was theirs, for rest, for play, for each other. The rest of the time, rest, play, socializing, stories. They ate an incredibly diverse diet, dozens of different plants, meat, fish, berries, nuts. A diet of wild foods is one of the most nutritionally complete diets possible. Hunter-gatherers were actually taller and healthier than the early farmers who followed them. Better fed, stronger bones, better teeth, lower stress, longer healthy lives. The skeletons tell the story. The shift to farming made people shorter, their teeth rotted. A diet dominated by grain is nutritionally narrow. Hunter-gatherers ate far better. Malnutrition became common. Infectious disease exploded. Living close together with animals meant new diseases jumped to humans constantly. So what went wrong, and why did anyone choose this? The answer is that nobody really chose it, not freely, not willingly. The truth is, farming probably was not a choice at all. It was a response to pressure. Environmental pressure, population pressure. Around 12,000 years ago, the climate changed. The last ice age ended. Temperatures rose. Forests spread. The open grasslands shrank. The great herds that hunter-gatherers had followed for millennia began to decline. The mammoths were gone. The giant deer were gone. The easy abundance was ending. At the same time, human populations were growing. The success of the hunter-gatherer life had created a problem. Too many people for the wild land. More people, less wild food. Something had to give. Scarcity forces innovation. And this was the most consequential innovation in human history. Farming did not appear because it was a better life. It appeared because the old life was no longer possible. The world changed around them. They adapted, as humans always do. It was a solution to a crisis, not an invention, not a breakthrough, a survival strategy, born not from ambition, but from desperation. And once it started, it was almost impossible to stop. Farming produces more calories per acre than hunting and gathering. That means you can feed more people from less land. But feeding more people from less land also means those people become dependent on that land. So populations grew, and growing populations needed more farms. More people meant more fields meant more people. The cycle locked in. A trap. A beautiful, productive, inescapable trap. You cannot unlearn farming once you depend on it to feed your children. Farming also meant owning land, and owning land meant defending it. For the first time in human history, people had something worth fighting over permanently, which meant weapons, armies, fortifications, war. Hunter-gatherers fought occasionally, but farmers fought constantly, over land, over water, over harvests. The first wars were not about ideology, they were about who owned the field. Everything we call civilization, the good and the terrible, grew from this moment. Democracy and dictatorship, science and war, art and genocide, all rooted in the farm. But let us also be fair to farming. It did things hunting and gathering could never do. It allowed permanent settlements, villages, towns, eventually cities. It allowed specialization. Not everyone had to find food. When not everyone needs to farm, human potential can go in 1,000 new directions. Some people could be potters, builders, healers, artists, thinkers. For the first time, human culture could accumulate. Ideas could build on ideas. Surplus food allowed trade, and trade connected distant groups. For the first time, people who had never met could exchange goods and ideas. Writing was invented to track grain. The first written records are grocery lists, not poetry, not stories. The first writing was a grain inventory. Mathematics grew from counting harvests, architecture from building grain stores. Almost every human invention traces back to the needs of farming. The wheel was invented to move grain, the calendar to track planting seasons. And now, the twist. We have always been taught that farming was progress. Textbooks celebrate it, museums display it proudly, the invention of farming. That it was the great leap from primitive to civilized, from wandering animals to settled, sophisticated humans. But the evidence suggests something very different. The skeletons do not lie. The bones of early farmers are smaller, sicker, and more stressed. For most people, farming made life harder, not easier. More work, worse food, shorter lives, more disease, more violence, more inequality. By almost every measure of individual well-being, farming made life worse. Jared Diamond, one of the world's leading evolutionary biologists, called farming the worst mistake in human history. His evidence? Shorter lives, worse health, more conflict, more inequality, less freedom. Not because farming was evil, but because it was a trap we walked into and could not walk back out of. A species that can be fed cannot choose to be unfed, not when children are hungry. We did not choose farming because it was a better life. We chose it because the alternative was starvation. We fell into it because there was no other way. And once inside, we built the most remarkable civilization the planet has ever seen. And everything we call modern life, the cities, the technology, the art, the science, all of it grew from that one desperate decision. The smartphone in your pocket exists because a farmer in ancient Iraq planted wheat. We are all the descendants of farmers who had no choice. Every person alive today is here because some ancestor made this desperate switch.
Subscribe. Every day, we dig up one piece of the ancient human story.